Once I was on the plateau nearing Trolltunga, I felt really good, having made excellent progress, and I took a minute to make a post. This was Trolltunga, and my grandpa loved trolls. His house in Røros was called Trollhuset, the troll house. I love Norwegian stuff like Vikings, trolls, legends, mythology, and history, and I really thought Trolltunga was a great name. So I had planned to incorporate trolls into my hike. This was one of the crazy things that I never would have talked about on social media or in any context back home, because no one would have talked about it on social media or in any way or in any context back home. I repeated myself, because no one would find the topic funny or interesting. Jeanett, on the other hand, came from Oda, and she must know all the trolls, and she must know all about trolls. And this is an example of how she causes my creative side to come out of me. As I was hiking the plateau, I saw two rocks sticking out of the snow, and like looking for images in the clouds, I saw that these rocks were not rocks, but they were trolls. I took pictures of the rocks and posted them immediately. I felt like I would probably see the number of friends I have on Facebook drop because of this post, but I didn't care. I was becoming free to be myself, because I knew how important it was for me to be myself, to show Jeanett how much fun it was I was having, how down to earth I was, and how interested I was in her community, and it felt so good to be free. As I continued my hike towards Trolltunga, I passed two public shelters that are available for a place to rest and for emergencies. I passed a person cross-country skiing. The sun was bright, the skies were blue, and the snow was sparkling, just like it sparkled back in Michigan when there was a hard crust of ice on top. There were no fresh tracks in the snow leading to the final hill before I could see Trolltunga. I made it to the top of this hill, and from there, with a blue sky almost as expansive as Big Sky, Montana, nestled below the crook between two cliffs, between two rocky walls, in the middle was Trolltunga. I could see a wind-swept rope with knots in it, drifted with a dusting of snow laying on the Trolltunga rock. As I got closer, the ends of this rope looked shredded, and perhaps the threads were rustling in the light breeze. It was a surreal moment. It was a moment that made me feel like I was on another planet, and the earth was a mirror ball suspended above me, and everyone was there with me, looking down, including Jeanett. I climbed down between the rock walls into the shadows to get where Trolltunga's base begins to extend out from the cliff. It was about as large as a full-size basketball court. Trolltunga is an extraordinary cliff that just happens to stick out from the mountain all by itself. I had kept my backpack up above on the snowy drift where the warning signs were located. And like I was stepping on the moon, I walked out to the middle of Trolltunga and felt the weight of the mountain holding it up. Hundreds of feet below and miles in the distance can be seen standing on Trolltunga. I was so far away from the place Jeanett and I met just 4 days ago. My memories of her little feet taking steps in the snow on top of Norway's largest stone carried me here. I was a man standing on solid rock now, as I reminisced about so many things while I stood all alone in the sunlight and silence of the lake way down below. The sun's reflection off the frozen lake makes me remember the hug that we shared as I squint to gather the great memories of that moment. Like a compass, I look in the direction of Oda, and my mind was in the sunlight with Jeanett as I knew that over the mountain in the distance, down in the fjord, was where time stood still and the greatest moment of my life occurred. I am not even sure where my Grandpa Spork was at that moment when we met. This was the moment that was the product of so many moments leading up to this point, and there was no other way forward once I stepped out on the rock. This natural barrier enhances one's feelings and thoughts, I believe. I imagine standing there with her, if she had come too, even though she likes to fish. I imagined her standing there with me, saying nothing, just being her beautiful self because of everything we shared together in our minds. I let the moment last as long as I could, and then I let the moment last as long as it could. And then I broke that moment with no one watching. I walked up to my backpack and brought it down. It was time to celebrate and explore Trolltunga for a few moments. I brought 2 non-alcoholic beers and a couple carrots. I did not dare walk closer than 5 feet to the edge. The possibilities of somehow falling to my death were too intense when you cannot see the ground below, but you know that one more step would be the end. This was an amazing moment, and it was the Carlsberg and Ringa, and if the Carlsberg and Ringa were meant to be sipped, I did my best I could. They tasted so good. I brought carrots with me because in all the pictures I had seen of Trolltunga, no one had ever given sacrifices to the troll. I found myself getting the all too familiar creative energy to share with everyone something they had never seen before. I gathered many notions from legends, fairy tales, folklore, and history to personify Trolltunga into a gigantic living entity that also needed attention and love. Carrots seemed appropriate for this inoculation because how could I anticipate the reaction the mirror ball would make spinning above my head? Jeanett's hair and eagle patch on her jacket. I wonder if she looked in the mirror the morning she met me, as if I saw her standing there waiting for me in the parking lot next to the ice skating rink. I wondered if she looked in the mirror before she met me, as I saw her standing there waiting for me in the parking lot next to the ice skating rink. I wanted to start my own little tradition. I felt part of a community in my own special way. In my own special way. Jeanett's long fingers that make her unique. The carrots were a creative way for me to feel part of a community in my own special way. Maybe I would get in trouble for littering. I did not want to be driven by money and people who didn't laugh. It didn't matter because Jeanett was watching my every move on social media, and I wanted her to know that I could feel at home in Oda. Even if no one ever told her how beautiful her hands are. And although I knew that not everybody would think that this was funny, it didn't matter because that was my reality back in the United States. I wanted someone to appreciate me for being in their life, not because I belonged to the group. But who says you can't find the group you make smile? I stood back and made a video as I bounced the carrots off the troll's tongue and watched them disappear into the silence below. I took a selfie with me holding the carrots, and I did not look happy. because my happiness was as fleeting as the gold thread I was balancing on. Jeanett would see my posts, I am sure, because I wanted to be her friend. I didn't want anyone who knew me to think I was not sad. I didn't want anyone who knew me to think I was sad. But what fool would think what fool would think I had found happiness if I had been smiling? I smiled when I took the selfie of the non-alcoholic beer that I enjoyed. But then again, who would know that they were non-alcoholic? The likes started pouring in as the world saw that I had reached Trolltunga. And despite the concerns that I was celebrating with non-alcoholic beer that may appear to be alcoholic, I felt very good to have reached one of my goals.